gentlemen, I'd like to introduce
Raw Dog.
It was amazing. Really? You were amazed?
That's right, man.
Yeah, come on in. You saw me.
Comedy hits.
Channel 99.
It's two broke guys and a hot chick that won't bang them. Ever. Starring Jim Norton and Jim Florentine.
Hello, thank you for tuning in to this special thing, I guess it is. I'm Jim Norton. I'm here with my pal Jim Florentine. And we're interviewing Whitney Cummings when she gets here. Whitney was pitched about coming into Opie and I are doing the show in the morning, but I think she wasn't going to be here in time. You know, she's getting in a little later, so I wanted to interview her because she did me a huge favor when she came on my Vice show. She was great. So I wanted to do it with Jim. I would just do it by myself, sit here and, talk by myself until she gets here. It's fucking embarrassing.
I think the first time I met her was when your Down and Dirty show.
Oh, right. 2008.
Yeah.
On HBO at that theater. And that was a weird one. I humiliated myself so much in that one. There was a show called Down and Dirty with Jim Norton, and it was 4 episodes. And Dice was on one, and Artie Lang with Bill Burr, Patrice O'Neill, Whitney, Jim Florentine, Mike Vecchione. It was really amazing. Jim Jeffries. And Jim wasn't even one of the closers. I mean, there was some really, really strong acts. And an amazing little short series we did. And Robert Eiler from The Sopranos, he played AJ, was at one of the shows. And I wanted to give him a shout out. And, cause I never have celebrities at my shows. So in front of the whole audience, I said, ladies and gentlemen, how about a nice hand for Robert Eiler? And I said his name wrong. And I was so embarrassed. And HBO goes, look, you have to redo that. This is like when there was another comedian. Like, they won't air it if you don't redo it because you got his name wrong. So I had to fucking go out there and redo it and tell everybody I was so embarrassed.
That is embarrassing. And 1,500 people in the theater go, look, I messed up his name, so we have to do it over again.
Well, this is what a non-tech savvy dope. What I should have said was, hey, look, man, we had a problem with the audio. I fucked up before and my mic wasn't on or was off. So we got to just introduce Robert again and then just said his name right. But if I had any showbiz instincts, I would have done that. And when Whitney comes, you can just bring her in. You don't have to wait. We're just saying that to Don Wickland, who's with Eric Nagel right now in the next room. Just one hand in each other's laps, going back and forth. It's a mutual masturbation joke. It's an old Jim Norton staple.
Nothing wrong with it.
Staple, actually. You ever wonder why do I go to dick jokes so quick? Is it just that
they're
easy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I that childish, though?
No, because they're always funny.
Yeah.
Always. You can't stop doing them. Farts, same thing. You never grow out of them. Dick jokes, you never grow out of them.
I shot something for Colin. He's doing this thing on the web. I don't know how much of it he's talked about, but it's very funny. And it's very smart and well written. And Colin never goes for dick jokes. Never. And I'm like, is that, maybe he's just doing something right? I mean, do I go for them too much? As a comic, you start to second guess yourself.
Yeah. No, I know. You definitely do. When you really notice is when you have to do a real important set in front of people or something like that. You're like, man, and you look at your material and you're like, what can I do?
Yeah.
What can I do to this person? Go, this guy's a smart comic and he's got some really good stuff without talking about jerking off or sex or some nonsense.
I got 6 minutes of material that doesn't revolve around my cock, and that stuff is around my balls and asshole. I just can't get out of that childish. So I'm like, I don't want to keep going for that kind of stuff, I mean, I try to be honest about sex and all that stuff.
See, if you get married, you settle down with some chick and get married and just do other stuff, and that's not part of your life, you won't even talk about it anymore. I don't talk about banging chicks anymore.
Right.
I don't talk about even jerking off anymore, really, because I don't, here and there I do, but it's not even part of my life, none of that stuff. So you just talk about whatever's going on now. So I don't even get into that.
You talk more about having a kid and,
a little bit of a kid, but just more of other shit that bothers me, everyday stuff, whatever it is, but not so much, I've been banging this chick, I was picking her up in a bar and she was fucking annoying and obnoxious and none of that shit. I don't have to anymore.
Well, I'll tell you one thing you're avoiding on a line, and this is why Jim and I are talking, waiting for Whitney, who's running a few minutes late, but should be here. But I didn't plan on mentioning this, but I got catfished recently, as they talk about on that documentary where someone pretends to be someone else online. And I don't want to say the city or the state just because, the person's, but I got, and I think it was a social media contact. This really attractive girl contacted me. And so we began talking, and she was going to come to the show. And that night at the show, I'm like, where are you? And she's like, well, I can't. I'm with so-and-so, and they're really sick. I'm helping my friend who's very sick. She's vomiting. She's like, but I'm trying to get out of the showroom to come say hello to you in the lobby. And I'm waiting. And I'm like, this person's lying. Like, there was a couple of things she said in our chats. It's a girl. I talked to her on the phone. She's a woman.
So, you talked to her on the phone and everything?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. But my instinct kicked in really early that something was off. I forget what she said. She said something really early on, and I'm like, this is not right. She was sending me pictures, really beautiful, but I'm like, you know how your instinct just kicks in?
Yeah.
And says something is not right. And so when she didn't come that night to the show, I just knew she was lying. I'm like, you're lying. And she was like, no, I'm not lying. I promise you. I'm going to be in New York all week for business. So when she was allegedly in New York, I'm like, well, meet me outside your hotel. We'll go for a ride. Knowing she would never be there because it's not her.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I show up outside the hotel. Okay, coming out now. Doesn't show up. I'm sitting in my truck. Doesn't come. And I'm like, I'm not even mad at this point. I'm like, what kind of a psychopath does this? What kind of a fucking psychopath? Like, I don't know what you get out of this. And then I'm like, maybe it's just some kind of a contact with you that someone's having. And then I leave. Of course, I wait 10 minutes. I'm playing chess on my phone. And then I get text from her. Where were you? I was out there. And I'm like, it's an impossibility.
Yeah.
That you were out there. And part of me is kind of flattered that somebody thinks enough of me to, like, they need to disguise their identity just so I'll talk. You know what I mean? It was like, it wasn't like a fuck you, bitch. I didn't feel that way about this person. I felt sorry for her that she needs to do that. Like,
do you think it was a guy behind it with a girlfriend who was doing the voice and doing all that shit and just...
No, maybe...
Like a fan just trying to fuck with you?
Nah, because I have a recording of this person leaving. I'll play it for you later. I won't play her voice on the air because, again, just in case... I don't know if she has mental problems or not, but I would think you do. Because there's nothing to get out of me. I mean, what could she possibly... What are you going to do? Tell people I talk? Who gives a fuck? No one cares.
I think at that point she knew she was busted when you said, come outside the hotel. She
knew she was busted. This is what made me angry at her. It wasn't the fact that she lied. It was that when I called her out, and I know her real name, she made a critical mistake that allowed me to get her real information. So I know her real name. I know her all that stuff, which is not a big deal. I've seen a real photo of her. She's not bad looking. She's not amazing, but she's okay. Nothing to be ashamed of. But when I called her, I go, look, I know your real name, but still lying. No, it's real. Like,
so you said this is your real name.
I didn't tell her real name.
Okay. So she didn't even send a picture of real stuff. It was some other.
Oh, it was a hot chick. Fucking bodybuilder chick.
Right.
And so her not owning up to it, once I fucking called her out, annoyed me. It's like, look.
Yeah.
I'm being nice about this. I'm not even mad at you. You're fucking caught. Just admit you're caught. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you're a piece of garbage or fuck you. I'm going to call your company. None of that stuff. Because I was more interested in finding out, like, can you have a moment of honesty and clarity and just communicate with another person and let me know why you did it? I'm more curious. Like, if she would have said, look, I'm a little bored in life. I'm married or whatever her deal is.
Yeah.
That would have been very interesting to me. And I'm going on the air with it right now. And I'm not giving you her real name. I'm not even giving you what social media site she contacted. Because I've got contacted on so many. I've gotten contacted on a bunch of them. And the person whose photos she was using contacted me and said, this person is doing this to me. And I believe that it's the real woman whose photo she was using, who's hot.
Well, how would she know? How would the hot chick know the photo she was using? How would she know that this other girl was fucking with you?
I guess, photos? Well, I asked her that too. She had a good answer for that because I thought maybe this is just another one of her identities.
Yeah.
But the identity that she is using to contact me saying these are my photos, the real identity, has way too many social media followers, and there's too many real photos of her, and I'm like, this has got to be this person's life. It can't be.
Well, how did she find out then, the hot chick?
She read something else that this woman had said. She just knew. She keeps tabs on it because I think she's been doing it with other people. I haven't talked to the hot chick yet, like for real, like me and you were talking. I want to talk to her and find out. But I'm fascinated that this girl, now I'm going to compare notes with her, is so busted. Like, and then one woman's like, I'm thinking of calling the police on this. You know, this is like, she's like, it's scary.
Yeah.
But it's not scary to the point where I think the girl's going to hurt anybody. I don't think she's out to hurt people. She's probably just out to live like an online fantasy life.
Yeah, she would, or she just be like, I'm going to pull a prank on Jim Norton, and then she got busted and she's still denying it because she feels bad. She's like, oh shit, I'm a fan. I don't want him to be, hate me for the rest of his life. So I'm just going to keep denying it. Who knows what's going through a crazy mind. But now the hot chick pictures, were there everyone like nude pictures? Obviously not, right? 'Cause
no.
if she was stealing them, there couldn't have been.
No nude photos. I'll show them to you off the, she's really, she's a very pretty girl. And just the fact though that this fucking whack job used her photos and then would not acknowledge. And I there was a couple things she did which helped me realize, oh, she's full of shit. And I just hate the fact that she won't own up to it now that she's caught. That's what bothers me. It's like, you're caught. Why don't you just admit that you're busted? But this is her. Let me see if I can find a picture of her face. She's really a pretty girl. I know that. I'll show you off the air. People are listening to this. They don't want to hear me showing you a photo.
Right.
But I'm sure other people out there have been catfished before. That's something you're not missing by being.
I know.
In a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too much nonsense. I see chicks now on the road and I'm just like, I'm just so glad I'm out of that, because that would just be, hours of just nonsense to hopefully something would happen at the end of the night. And
what do you do when you get the urge? Because I know you're just a dude like I am, and I know Florentine's history is amazing with women, and your wife is really hot though. It's not like you picked up a 6. I mean, she's a fucking 9. So it's like, it's easy to look at your wife and go, I get why he likes her. But what do you do when you get the urge on the road or you have a moment?
You just, you look at, wow, that chick's hot, man. I would definitely, if I was single, I might try or whatever. And then you just blow it off, man. You think of your family.
You do, right?
Yeah, it's easy. You don't want to fuck it up for, it's not worth it.
Do you think like,
because then you got to explain to your son when he's like, 14, 15, whatever age it is, like, he'd be like, Dad, really? You had to stick your dick in that girl on the road and fuck up everything? Was it worth it?
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the way I always look at it. And it's easier once you go look at it like that.
And do you look at it like, God, man, my wife's face, I would have to look into her face and
absolutely.
lie
Yeah, that too. Yeah. I mean, you get to the point where it's like, your career's over, you move on to something else. It's almost like a sports guy when he gets out of football. He's not going to go back and try or play in another league.
Sometimes they do, though. They go to the CFL or they go play in Europe.
Yeah, that's right. They might go to Canadian Football League for one more year.
And it doesn't go into their normal stats anyway. But,
right, it does, yeah.
They pick it off a few facts.
But those guys, I mean, think about it as a comic. If you, in 5 to 7 years, say like a football career, your career is over. Us as comics, we could do this till we're 70. Yeah. So imagine like 5, 7 years, you got a window, and then all of a sudden, like, what the fuck do you do with your rest of your life? That would be weird.
Yeah.
Think about it, So that's the way I look at it when it comes to, getting married and settling down. It's like, there's another whole other part of life. I'm done with that. I can't go back.
And it's funny. It's like, I can do whatever I want sexually. I spend money on it. A lot of times it really is just easier. I don't like to lie. Like, I don't want women to think I'm in love with them if I'm not. And I can do anything I want sexually, whenever I want, and it's boring. I'm done with it too. Like, I don't want a relationship like being henpecked. I need a dirty girlfriend mentally. But after a while, you're like, all right already. It all feels the same. When your dick is having a stroke and you're just leaking cum, you're done. It's the same. Whether it's all over my hand or in a girl's mouth. It's like,
I know.
It really is. I'm chasing a non-existent high.
Yeah. No, I got to that point too. It didn't mean anything. That like the Motorhead song, "The chase is better than the catch."
Yeah, always.
That's what was always fun about it. But then after that, it's like, and just the aggravation. Like, it's social media just brought it to a whole other level. With chicks, they were crazy to begin with. Any girl, I always say, any girl is gonna fuck you the first night she meets you is crazy. There's something wrong with it. There's a fucking screw loose.
You're probably right.
So now. Usually you could just go, hey, I'll next time I'm in town, I'll see you. Maybe give them an email address, and that was it. Now, they can get in touch with you in 2 seconds, and they find out everything about your life and anybody in your life, and could just, fuck it up completely. And then you have to deal with that nonsense. Them get in touch. Hey, here's my email address. Or I'll 6 months, I'll send you an email or whatever. I'll call you in 6 months when I'm back in town. And that was it. You left it at that, and you called them a couple weeks before.
And you set up, hey, I'm coming back to town.
Yeah.
Let's meet up. And now it's got to be constant. And then they start getting mad if you don't contact them fast enough.
Right. Now it's all of this crap, and they're still, you get back home after you were in Kansas City or something like that. You're like, I don't want to hear from this fucking chick.
Yeah.
I'm back home. This is my normal life now. I'm back in the fucking groove, my groove here.
And you listen, just in case you're tuning in, you don't know what the fuck this is. It's Jim Florentine, and I'm Jim Norton. And we're hanging out, talking, and we're waiting for Whitney Cummings, who's coming in, because she was too late to talk to Opie and myself in the morning, and Jim was on with us. And I love Whitney, and I think she's a very, very funny comedian, and she's
great.
She's one of a really, really beautiful, sexy woman who's also really funny and open and honest about who she is, which I love. And I don't even like mentioning a comic's appearance because it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But it's nice to have somebody who's really good looking be so open about stuff and not, she never plays that card, because she's fucking nutty. And Adrian, the intern from the Opie show, is walking in. Oh, thank you. It's very nice. You could give one to Jim too. I don't want to be fucking rude to my friend.
We could just pass it around.
No, I know, but Spencer. Oh, good. You're getting to hear.
I don't know why.
We're on right now. It's fine.
Okay,
you want to sit here?
I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. It's okay.
Hey, how are you? Sorry, America.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Hi.
We're just talking. It's fine. It's good to see you.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. We figured something happened. It's okay.
I should have walked. I don't know. I'm really in an embarrassing state.
Why?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're just warming up the crowd for you.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm coming in to bomb at 11:30 a.m. I still don't know New York. It's so embarrassing. Isn't that embarrassing that I can't walk?
Well, how far are you staying from here?
Like 4 blocks, and I took a car. Isn't that embarrassing?
But no, you know why? Because as comedians, we've done so many dog shit gigs and sat in so many shit hotels that when they're like, would you like a car? Yes, I would.
Yes, I would. It's like you want it, but it actually slows you down. You know?
Especially at this time. Plus, it's freezing out. You don't want to walk 4 blocks.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I don't know. I'm sorry. I've dropped the ball.
It's okay. It was fine. We just started. It's okay. We're just talking about, I got catfish recently, so that's actually good.
I watched you at the cellar last night. That was so funny.
Oh, thank you.
It was so funny. I was laughing about it this morning. She swiped left so hard that it bounced back.
Oh, no, that's a different story.
Oh.
That's a Tinder story.
Oh, okay.
That's different. This is that's a Tinder, meeting. This is actually a girl who contacted me and said, like, blah, 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 was sending me another girl's pictures, and I found out who she really is. What
do they think's going to happen? What's the end game when you catfish someone? Because you're never going to be able to meet them.
Jim and I was talking about that. Is it that you want some sort of a working relationship with the person?
Oh, yeah.
And a communication? I don't know.
Yeah, or the fantasy. I don't think they're mentally healthy people. It's probably mentally ill people.
Yeah, which makes me hate mentally ill people, but then again, it's like mentally ill people.
We are mentally ill people. So
yeah, we are fucked up.
I kind of like them.
Yeah.
I had a reverse catfish story where I accidentally catfished someone. I don't even know if I'm using the term right. So I was on Tinder like as a joke. And then I was like, fuck it. Like people were texting me, but it was a lot of, on Tinder, they know it's you, right? So they're like, hey, you're so funny and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, but I used my real age, so I think a lot of them thought so stupid. I never used my real age.
Hey, can you get me a job?
That was so stupid.
It's more that I got a lot of those. I got like, hey, can I send you my resume? But a lot of people didn't. I didn't, whatever. So I'm looking at it and I'm going through it one day and I'm just like, why is this any different than meeting someone in a bar?
Right.
Like, why do I think I'm so much better than Tinder? Like, there's good people on here. I have a lot of good friends on here who aren't gross. And
right.
So there was this guy that I thought I had met before and I swiped right on him. Just for the fuck of it. And I was kind of just jokingly would have a couple drinks and start texting with guys and just, making fun of them. And this one time I was like, he's sweet and we're texting back and forth and he makes documentaries and he seems great. I'm like, if I met this guy out, I would totally go out with him. Right. And so we're going back and forth. And then one day he's like, do you want to get coffee or something? And I was like, no, is this crazy? And then I was like, this might just be the new thing.
Right.
We thought everything was weird in the beginning. Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
So I was like, he doesn't seem like a creep. And I was like, you know what? I'll meet him in a public place.
Right.
I was like, meet me at Greenblatt's I have a spot at the Comedy Store, a spot at the Laugh Factory. Meet me in between. There'll be people around. He's not going to murder me, And so I go and I show up and I have a half hour to meet him. I have an in and I have an out in case it goes south.
Sure.
I show up, I get there and I'm like, hi. And he was like, oh, I didn't think it was really going to be you. And I was like, huh? And he's like, oh, I thought it was someone pretending to be you. And I was like, well, I'm so sorry to disappoint you, but I'm here. And he I think he wanted the catfish.
Right.
He didn't want the meat. I was like, all right, well, should I head out? Yeah. Like,
well, you imagine you're on Tinder and you see Whitney Cummings and you're like, this has got to be fucking, this is not real.
But why would you want to meet her, though? If you know it's not Whitney Cummings, if you know what I mean?
I think he wanted that creep.
Right.
Like, he wanted the weirdo. Like, I showed up and he was, like, disappointed.
Were you disappointed in him, or he looked like he was supposed to look?
He kind of looked like he was supposed to look. Like, I think he was, like, shorter or something. But I, like, totally would have been cool. But he just, like, wasn't interested in me. Like, he wanted the sociopath.
Well, he was probably scared of you. He was probably intimidated, like the real you walked in. And, you know, you're quite a well-known, famous comic. And honestly, that's a weird thing for someone on a social media. Just all of a sudden you show up and it's you.
I know, but do you feel like do you feel weird about it? Like...
No, but I think for a man meeting a famous woman, it's even scarier. Like
I don't think of myself as famous.
But you are, though. I definitely understand that because comedians are crazy.
Yeah, and that's the same reason why like guys don't come up to you after a comedy show and hit on you. Most female comics say that.
It's never happened.
Never happened.
Never happened.
That's what most female comics always say, that guys never hit on them.
No.
You think that, so we get it all the time.
Or I get guys that are incredibly alpha, like very alpha, like aggressive men that are like, I'm going to be the one to like break her or something.
Right.
You know, anyone who does, I can't talk to you anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And Whitney, by the way, is promoting, just so we can get her plugs out. She's got the Venetian in Vegas at the end of the month, 2 days there. The Wilbur Theater in Boston in December. She's doing the Palazzo in Vegas. Oh, you got a shitload of Vegas days. In January, Tempe Improv and Caroline's here in New York in January. Go to WhitneyCummings.com, because if I give you all the dates, you're going to forget them. Just go to WhitneyCummings.com. All of her dates
do Vegas?
are there. I do occasionally, maybe once a year. I try to line it up with UFC. But I do okay in Vegas. I don't draw tremendously
Vegas is tricky.
well.
It's like I thought Vegas was going to be just like this no-brainer. Like I'm going to go, just like sell tickets. You got to work in Vegas.
There's so much shit going on.
You're competing with magicians and I'm like, I don't have props. I don't have pecs. I don't do magic. Like I tell jokes.
And you look at like the local rag there, whatever. There's like 15 other comics in town the same weekend
in
you're
the same
doing.
casino.
Yeah, same casino.
Last time I was there, well, this was like a year and a half ago. I was there. Joan Rivers was in the same casino. I was like, "Fuck you guys!"
Yeah, what are you
doing? You know, but it's Vegas is like kind of. I'm trying to go there more and more. It's just easy. It's close to LA. Like touring's like starting to break my soul down a little bit. Like I'm tired. My back hurts. But Vegas is like, it really is the only 2 times I've ever thought that I was legitimately having like a nervous breakdown or going crazy was in Vegas.
Are you, by the way, I have to ask, what happened with the guy?
What guy?
The guy, the Tinder guy.
There was, nothing. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. He said, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to head out. And he was like, all right, well, can I get a photo? I was like,
he wanted a photo.
That's fine. I kind of get that.
And I gave it to him. I was like, okay, sure, fine, just fine. And then he like texted me, and I just didn't really respond.
But the thing is, he had a shot at going out with you because he was a nice guy and you thought he was kind of cute, but he fucking blew it when you walked in. Instead of just going, hey, Whitney, it's really, I love your work. It's nice to meet you. And
I mean, I don't know. Again, like I don't see myself as like, but anyone who's going to swipe, I guess, knows me in some, I don't know. I don't see myself known in that way. So maybe I have a dysmorphia.
You might have some that just see you and see an attractive woman and not know because they're not into, but I think a lot of people would know who you are. And, you know, it's kind of, you fucking billboards were all over the entire country for quite a while.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's funny though. I was just going to LA to do like a 5-minute thing on the Tonight Show. Oh, there's my friend. She's 80 feet tall. And there's 6 of them in a row. So yeah, I mean, it was a nice hit for you.
It was like, but I feel like, I don't know, but I feel like sometimes, I don't know if you got this, maybe it's just because I'm a girl. I feel like a lot of times when guys do know me, they try to pretend they don't, which is like worse.
Yeah, because they want to seem like they're not starstruck and not impressed.
Yeah, that they don't care, and it just ends up coming off like super mean. They're like, oh, what do you do again? Like, oh, and it's like, you know, I'm a comedian. They're like, oh, like what, like improv? And you're just like, dude, it's fine. Like, I don't care. It's like, I'm embarrassed as much as you are. They
don't like the fact that you're higher on the fucking social status scale.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
I think it's hard for everybody. I think it's hard whether you're in the business, not in the business.
My husband likes you. I don't know what you do. He's talking about. He kept pointing out. Who
I was
are you?
watching your show. I was just flipping through the channels.
Yeah,
I was just flipping through.
I don't watch your show, but
it was just on.
Yeah,
it was just on like an airplane. Like, why are you insulting me? Just don't talk to me at all.
I know.
Like, why do you need to come up here and make me feel bad?
Why do they think it's a weakness to say I like your work or I enjoy you? Or why do they think they put them at a lower social status?
Yeah.
To say I'm a fan of your work. I mean,
yeah, it's just like what you're just hurting my feelings. People hurt my feelings all the time. I have this theory that if a stranger comes up to you and says hi, the third thing they say is always an insult. You know, they'll be like, hey, I'm such a big fan. You're so funny. You're so much bigger in person. You're just like, whoa. I always say get out after the second compliment because the third one is always going to be an insult.
By the third one, it's going to be what they really thought of you and how you changed it.
The first two are the fake ones. The real one.
Oh, terrific. You dynamite. Thought you were a terrible comic until I met you. No.
I also have people come up to me like randomly in the airport. They'll be like, hey, I just saw Margaret Cho. And I'm like, okay.
What do you want me to do with that?
What do you want me to do with that information? They just are like, female comic. We have something to talk about. Like, it's just so funny, the random thing.
Don't you get sick of the whole female comic? Like, you're just a comic, and
I don't think of it that way.
It's so silly. Like, because you think of like how many funny women there are, and it's just, there's a shitload. It's like, it's too big of a list.
Because my thing is literally just stop talking about it. Yeah. So it's like any kind of press and stuff. Like, I just won't answer questions about like, what's it like being a female comedian? I'm like, well, like we're at the point where we just can't acknowledge it anymore. Like, we can't talk about it.
I thought Joan Rivers was very underrated. I don't know if it's because she was a woman. When you hear like top 5 comics, I put Joan Rivers in my top 5 or 7 of all time, and I feel like she never makes those lists. And I'm like, is that why? Maybe because people are so used to just listing male names.
I think it also has to do with the fact that because Joan, her roast, she came out and was funnier than anybody. I mean, you know how funny she is. I mean, extemporaneously, like she was just killing. She was like, I remember I was dying. She said something about Robin Quivers, and she goes, Robin, I saw you naked backstage. It looked like a mudslide. And I was laughing so hard. And then I looked up at the prompter, and it wasn't on the prompter. It wasn't, all the jokes are written on the prompter at the roast. And she was coming up with jokes right on the spot. Like, I was like in awe of watching her. I think honestly, my personal opinion is like when you do corny things, people lose respect for you. Like if you do QVC and red carpet
Fashion
stuff.
Police and all that stuff.
So I think the newer, it just sort of felt, I think it cheapened her like brand or something.
Maybe,
you know?
some of those things she did, you might go, why did she, but she managed to stay afloat.
She just wanted to work so bad. Like, she was just such an animal. So it was like, I think if she had just only done stand-up and kept doing that kind of stuff, people would have put her as number in the top 5.
Because of the amount of fucking stuff, the ground she broke, like saying, like, doing all this material about being pregnant and fucking
birth
on
control,
the Tonight
abortions.
Show.
Yeah, she's the first one to have an abortion joke.
Was she?
Yeah, right. It was like that really went to Puerto Rico joke or something. I think on the Tonight Show. Maybe it wasn't the first. I don't know, but I remember it being like oh hell no, like that would be edgy now.
Did you know her?
Yeah.
Oh, how'd you meet her?
Yeah, I met her at her roast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the first time I ever met her, which by the way, to the roast, the people getting roasted have a say. You did Saget, right?
I just did Saget.
Yeah. And I love that one. You had a joke. Wasn't it the Sarah Silverman joke where you said she's fucked so many comics that she has a red light above her bed?
Oh wow, maybe I don't remember.
That's right.
So no, she has a red light above her bed, so they know when they have 2 minutes left. That joke, I love that. And so you can approve who's on the dais. Like she didn't have to have me on.
Right.
And I was like I was like a kid, and I had been a writer on the roasts, and she didn't have to say yes to me. I mean, it wasn't like Carl Reiner and all these amazing people.
Yeah.
And she gave me a shot to basically come up and make fun of her. I mean, I'm nobody and she's an iconic legend. So I went up, just like, destroyed her. I mean, said some really mean shit. Like,
what was the meanest thing you said?
Joan, I loved you in The Wrestler.
Yeah.
It was like The Wrestler had just come out. It was just so fucking mean.
You mean to tell a woman she looked like Mickey Rourke?
I know, literally, like, I was so scared. It was also so interesting because in Joan, and she joked about it, but she had so much work done at that point that you couldn't really tell what she had just kind of had a perma face.
Right.
And the first couple comics, like, kind of bomb, and they would always put Greg up first because he's the only one that had the balls to just go in and just like, say the meanest shit. And he would always kind of bomb, but kill with the people that knew comedy. And she wasn't laughing. And the audience wasn't getting into it because they didn't think that Joan was having fun. Because everyone looks to the person being roasted to see, is this okay? Like, is this too mean? And then finally, after like a couple comics, she stood up and she was like, this is funny. I'm having fun. This is funny. Like, she basically had to subtitle her face. Because it had become so frozen that no one could see that she was having a good time.
Oh my God.
So she was so funny about it. She's like, I've had a lot of Botox, but I'm having fun. And then I said, Joan, you're so old that your vagina has a separate entrance for black cocks.
That's great.
And she was so cool about it. And afterwards she gave me the biggest hug. She was like, you're going to get everything you want. Like, she was just so sweet. And then kept asking me to like open for her here, come on her shows.
Oh, so you opened for her?
Yeah, she was just, I did a couple random casino shows with her. She always had some reality show going or some talk show, and she would always invite me to do it. Like, and I remember this to me was like, Joan, like, the last time I saw her was she had some reality show with her daughter and asked me to come on. And I saw her and she did like QVC jewelry. Yeah. And she was wearing like a necklace, and it was like this big, beautiful, like stones, and nothing I would ever wear. But I was like, that necklace is so beautiful. She took it off and just gave it to me.
Oh, wow.
Like, that was how Joan was. She just was like, oh, you want it? Here. It was just so sweet. And I remember being on a plane with her once, and she gave presents to the flight attendant.
Did she?
Yeah.
It's funny about her is like, I think after her death, they realized she had like 75 million or whatever for her daughter. Do you know how hard it is for a comedian to accumulate 75 million?
And she spent like crazy.
Yeah.
So that was like, she lived like Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, she really did, right?
It was like unbelievable. So she spent a lot.
And, and she had, shows on basic cable, so it's not like network money she was getting.
Yeah,
but it was Fashion Police and all that stuff on E and whatever those channels were.
She hustled more than anybody. I remember 5 years ago being at Cobb's, and it was like next weekend, Joan Rivers, being like, what is she doing?
What was she just working on material?
Yeah, the like Sacramento Punchline. It'd be like Joan Rivers next week, and I'm like, excuse Rooster T. Feathers. Like, she just would hustle.
She wanted to be relevant.
Yeah, she would not stop. And she also, I think, really loved it. I mean, you saw her documentary. Like, she's just like in a different city every night, and she paid for so many people.
She was one of the few comics who I was really scared of in a weird way. Like, because I loved her so much. I was like always afraid to be around her. Like, I didn't want her to dislike me.
Yeah.
And I went to Louis for Thanksgiving last year, and she was there.
Oh, yeah.
And I said hello to her, and I had met her a couple of times, and she was like, hello. But she never really remembered me, and I always felt like shitty, like, fuck. I mean, I really wish she liked me. And then Louis goes, she's 80. You forget she's fucking 80. I'm like, oh, yeah. You forgot that she was an 80-year-old woman.
She's 80.
Because of how ferocious she was and how, even though she had all that work done, she looked a lot fucking younger.
Yeah. She looked great for 80.
Yeah.
There's this stigma in the business about, I was talking about someone about this recently, like, you just can't win. So it's like, I heard someone the other day, it was like, someone was talking about Cameron Diaz. And they were like, Cameron Diaz looks busted. I was like, excuse me? First of all, she's 45. Like, she looks great, and she hasn't had work done. So it's like, you can't win. If you don't have work done, you're busted. And if you do have work done, you're like, look at all the way. It's like, you just can't age.
Would you do it? Is it something that like scares you in the future? Like, do you think like 10 years from now, like maybe I would do it if I started to? Like, does that frighten you or?
I don't know. I feel like I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Like, I don't want to be a hypocrite because I'm not in a situation where I feel like I look like, I don't know what that feels like.
Right.
But the good news, I think, for me and for women in comedies, we have something else. Like, I don't solely rely on my looks. Like, and as a comedian, you appreciate.
Yeah.
You only get better. Whereas as an actress or a model, you only get worse. So that must be a pretty terrifying situation. Sure. Like, my thing is like, when shit hits the fan, I can just like write a book and tour.
And you can acknowledge it. If there's something you don't like about your appearance as a comic,
I'm funnier.
Exactly. I'm getting old now. Look at me.
I cannot wait. Yeah. It's like, for me, I'm going to get a new hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, like, that's literally my motivation for everything. I'm like, I need to have a kid. I need a new hour.
What did Joan talk about? How much her pussy drooped? It looked like she was wearing a slipper. It was I forget what the joke, but it was just something about her pussy drooping. It was like, that's what a great outlet to have. And we're so built on how you look, and with her, she just didn't. She did care about how she looked, but she didn't seem to be afraid to make fun of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, in going through, it's like being on TV in any way just gives you such bad dysmorphia that it's just like, I feel like I can't even trust my own perception of myself. So when someone else tells me I need to get work done, that's when I'll do it.
But would anybody actually say that? I mean, would anybody be that stupid to say that to a woman?
Well, I'm friends with Chelsea Handler, so.
Oh, yeah.
she would tell me.
Chelsea's almost got like an Asperger's thing. I love her. I think her ability to say things to people is really, Amy has the same ability.
Yeah.
It's an ability to be unpleasant when you have to be.
And to be unpleasant when you have to be, or to just say something to someone that no one else has the balls to say, but that they need to hear.
Right.
Like, she'll just hit exactly what everybody else is thinking, Like she said the other day to Jerry Seinfeld, who was obviously the best. She said to him, she met him for the first time, like at a party or something. And she was like, hey, so what's up with your wife that everyone hates?
Really?
Yes. Oh. And it was like, oh my God.
Did he answer?
She goes, I think he just laughed, but she just goes right for like the jugular, Like, for me, she was like, how come your nostrils are uneven? I was like, I've literally never heard of that, but they totally are. I mean, shit like that, where you're just like left feeling so insecure. But she's also told me a lot of things that no one else had the balls to say that I really needed to hear.
But it's kind of, we have to wrap with Whitney. We're getting a sign in there because you have a tight
sorry
schedule.
I was late.
That's okay.
I've been rambling anyway.
We're happy you were here, and I got that catfishing story out. So go to WhitneyCummings.com. I love Whitney. I think you're a really, really funny comedian.
Everyone loves your show, by the way, Vice.
Thank you.
I get so many like tweets about it.
And thank you for doing it. You're an amazing and honest guest, and I'm hoping we do more. You know, with those guys are very slow because they're, in a nutshell, they're growing very quickly.
Yeah.
So when people are getting a giant influx of money, it's hard to pin them down.
Yes.
Do mine.
Yeah.
They have so many. So I think we're going to do more. They were very happy with it.
I think of anything in the past like couple months. That's what I get the most like tweets about.
Oh, good.
I swear.
And Jim, you can go to jimflorentine.com for Jim's dates.
Yeah, Whitney's what, in Vegas? You got Vegas, Caroline's,
I'm in Vegas.
New York.
Yeah, I'm in Vegas right after Thanksgiving and right after New Year's.
So go to WhitneyCummings.com and see her. She's a great comic, and I'm Jim Norton. And thanks for listening. Go to my website for my stupid dates. And I guess that's it, right?
Pretty much.
We're done.
Oh, what the hell is this?
Raw dog.
There's no place for him to run, no place for him to hide.
Please don't do this to me. Come on. You know this is not my fault.
Comedy Hits.